Hey everybody, thanks for joining me in this video where we're going to take a look at the syllabus for English 221 at Ivy Tech in the spring 2024 semester. Welcome to the course. I'm Anthony Sams. I'm a professor of English at the college. My home base is the Sellersburg campus, which is the campus just about 10 miles north of Louisville, Kentucky. But you undoubtedly are joining me from all over the state, and I'm really excited to have you in this course. I'm really excited to teach this course as well. I thought maybe what I do here, in addition to going over the syllabus to make sure that you understand how the course is going to function, I thought I'd also talk a little bit about my teaching philosophy, why I like to teach courses such as this one, why I like to teach it online, why I like to really just dig deep into the world of literature. The path that led me to becoming a literature professor was not an arbitrary path. I didn't fall into the job accidentally. There's really something about the field that inspires me and intrigues me and captivates my imagination. And teaching itself is something that does all of those things too. There's really no greater reward for me than to explore literature with students and to help them sort of see the complexities of our world through the eyes and minds and perspectives of people who lived in the past. Or in the case of when we get to the end of the course, are even still alive today. So let's talk a little bit about what this course is and how I intend to teach it. And then we'll turn to the syllabus. And I'm not going to read the syllabus word for word, but I am going to touch on some major ideas in the syllabus and important things that I want you to know. And so this is really a video that I would not recommend skipping or pausing and never coming back to. Certainly, you can always pause these videos and come back to them. Just remember the timestamp where you are. But I think these videos, the purpose of them is really to help augment or enhance your participation in the course by demonstrating things to you or preemptively answering questions, being very proactive so that you have the best and easiest experience possible. This is what we call a survey literature course. And what that means in academic speak is we're going to be taking a look at the literature of a certain community over the course of a certain period of time. So this is world literature 2. World here means the entire world. We're going to be reading texts from many different continents, many different perspectives. And the 2 in that title, World Literature 2, indicates that the texts that we're going to be exploring were all essentially produced after the year 1650. So about 370 years ago is going to be the cutoff point from that point until now. Scholars tend to call that period, the period actually in which we are currently living, modernity. That's the noun form of modern. It essentially encompasses the rise of the Enlightenment in Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries, the rise of Romanticism, the emergence of global realism, then moving into what is called modernism. It's important not to confuse modernism with modernity. We'll talk about that distinction when we get to it. Modernism tends to, most scholars would say it runs either right up to the Second World War or perhaps finishes at the Second World War in 1945. And then we have the postmodern period. And the postmodern period, some people would say we're still living in a postmodern period, essentially after World War II. Some people would say that the postmodern period sort of began to fade in the late part of the 20th century, and now we're living in a contemporary period or a post-postmodern period. Those terms are things that we're going to explore as the course goes on. You don't need to necessarily understand all of those things at this moment, but we're looking at the literature published from 1650 onward. We're going to explore that literature in chronological order. So we're going to start back in the 17th century, in the 1600s, and we're going to work up to contemporary literature. We're going to do this in 8 weeks because this course is delivered in the accelerated and compressed term format. We're going to read a variety of authors, as I said. And one of the guiding principles that I have for the design of this course is that we are only reading works, or nearly all works in this course were not written in English first. So we're reading translations, of course. We're reading English translations of these works. But, world literature could encompass Great Britain, and it could also encompass America. And there's a rich literary tradition here in America and a rich literary tradition in Great Britain. Those make up a lot of the core of Western literary studies, texts from Britain and England, or I'm sorry, Britain and America, because they're both written in English, is what I was trying to say there. But I'm not assigning us American authors, and I'm not assigning us British authors. Um, because I think the important thing in a world literature course is that you read works that would be essentially unique to this course. So our anthology, for instance, has poems from Emily Dickinson. She's one of my favorite poets. But if I wanted to really study Emily Dickinson, I would do that in an American literature course rather than in a world literature course. Because if I had Emily Dickinson in this course, then that's one less reading or one less assignment or one less period of time that I could give to another writer or another poet who's not writing in the English tradition and who you might not study in any other class here at the college except for world literature too. So that's a guiding principle that I have for our course. We're going to be reading fiction, and we're going to be reading poetry, and we're going to be reading drama. We're going to try to do excerpts or those three genres across as many different time periods as possible. So we'll read an early modern play from Japan. We'll read a play from Germany and during the Romantic period. We'll read a play from the modern period in that came from Europe. We'll also read a play that's very postmodern European play that's kind of exploring more of the absurdities of life. So we'll read enough plays over the course of the semester that you'll be able to compare and contrast as you think about them, how the form of drama changes across cultures and across time. The same will be true for poetry. And the same will also be true for fiction. So this is World Lit 2, and I want to emphasize here that World Lit 1, which is essentially the earliest known literature up until about 1650, World Literature 1 is not a prerequisite for this course. You do not have to have taken World Literature 1 in order to get a lot out of this course. And in fact, as I teach this course, I will even presuppose that you don't have much literature background at all. This could be your second or third or maybe even fifth or sixth literature course that you've taken at the college level. But it also could be your first. And I want everybody who's enrolled in the course to feel welcome here and to feel like the course is being delivered at their level. If there are any issues with that, if you want a course that's a little more challenging, I can work with you directly to help you get a little more challenge out of the course. If you want a course where you are talking more with me one-on-one live about the works that we have and doing analysis and discussion together, we can find time to do that. If you want a course where you have more support and a basic approach to how to read literature and understand literature, I can work with you on that too. My teaching philosophy is really rooted around the idea that this is a humanities course. When we talk about the humanities, what we're really talking about is a section of study conducted at all levels of education that focuses more on what it means to be human. The humanities are often put in balance with what we call the STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, and math, or what are sometimes called workforce courses, courses that are directly designed to prepare you for a job that you're going to get once you leave the college. The humanities courses play a role in helping build a foundation, what we call a liberal arts education, a well-rounded and thoughtful education. But the humanities do a couple of things that are different from the STEM courses or workforce courses. So STEM and workforce courses, what they really try to do is they try to make the strange familiar, or they try to make the strange more easily comprehended. If you would look at a calculus proof, for instance, you might not understand exactly what it's saying without that baseline knowledge. So the point of a calculus course is to help you understand how calculus works. The point of a humanities course is to take probably something that you are already familiar with, or you already have a natural drive toward, something like storytelling or narrative, whether it's in a book or whether it's in a series that you're streaming on Netflix, or whether it's in a story that your grandparents are telling you, or whether it's some other kind of narrative that you are connecting with, or way of trying to understand the world. The humanities take perhaps what seems familiar and they make it strange. Not strange in the sense of bizarre, but what the point of the humanities is to help us think about the things that are built into our lives, the inherent nuts and bolts of daily living, the things that all humans have in common: desire, love, hunger, our mortality, uh, the fears that we have that extend beyond those things, the desires that we have to live rich, happy, fulfilling lives, an appreciation of nature, an interaction that we have with the past, and an orientation toward the future and the present world that we live in. These are all things that we can take for granted. And what the humanities really try to do is to help us look at the things that we might take for granted and be able to see them in a new way, to reframe in a lot of ways the ways that we turn to the world or look at the world. And when something is reframed for us, we can see it from a different perspective. And when we see it from a different perspective, we can grow a richer appreciation for it. So, the humanities include things like literature, of course, and writing, of course, but they also include art and art history and film studies and culture studies, religious studies, philosophy. Some people might want to try to put history into a social science box. I think history might be closer to the sciences than the humanities, but I would still put at least one foot of history into the humanities. And all of these disciplines together try to help us see the things in our lives that perhaps we take for granted. So when I approach a course like this, one of the things that I'm really thinking about is, how can I help you grow as a human? And one of the ways that we can grow as people is to think about the experiences that other people have had, or to think about the experiences that other people have dreamed of, the way that they understood what it meant to be human at the time. This is something that became really evident, I think, for many people during the pandemic. When people were in the pandemic, they turned to the things that brought them comfort, or they turned to things that helped them make sense of the world. In my own personal experience, I found myself during the pandemic gravitating more toward ancient texts. Texts that would have been, for example, from ancient Mesopotamia or ancient Egypt or Greece or Rome. These kinds of texts, or actually, India as well, the Indian subcontinent, or ancient China, these texts contain a huge um, collection, a storehouse of human wisdom, a reminder that our generation is not the first generation to have lived through a global pandemic, that our generation is not the first generation to have been confronted with mortality through the spread of an infectious disease, and to feel like nobody really knew what was going to happen if they got sick, or some people got sick and nothing happened, and some people got sick and of course died. So a turn into the past and thinking about what are the values of the past. Um, what do the ancient Greek philosophers have to say? What do the writers and thinkers who composed the great religious texts of the Western and Eastern traditions, the writers who assembled the Hebrew Bible, the writers who put together the texts of Buddhism, what do they have to say about the meaning of life? Or what do they have to say about finding purpose in a world that's full of uncertainty? So that is at really the core of what a humanities class is all about. And those are the values and the perspectives that I try to bring to this class. The texts that we're going to read in this course, I think, try to help us make sense of the modern world that we live in, a world that often seems chaotic and very confusing, but in fact, it perhaps is simply indicative of what it's like to be a human on this planet, to live in a human body, to have a human life, to struggle with the things that humans struggle with. And I think when we read something like literature, language is highly unique because language can allow things to become incredibly specific. You can look at a painting and feel something, but when you read something, it allows you much closer access to another person's thoughts. Language is an innate skill that humans have. And so being able to use language to gain deeper appreciations for the human condition is something that literature does really well. Hope it's evident to you that a class like this, what it really does is excite me. And I love the idea that by the end of this class, you are going to have read a lot of really great works of literature. Think of this as kind of a crash course in world literature. You're going to get a lot, not everything. And in fact, some of the information that we're going to read through the term will actually point you in the direction of things that you might want to read after this class is over, because we can't read everything, of course. Even if the class were a full semester long, we couldn't read everything. But in a compressed term, we really can't read everything. But this course really puts the emphasis on reading, less about writing and more about reading and interacting with texts. So now that we're starting to talk about the nuts and bolts of how the course functions, let's take a moment to turn to the course syllabus. My goal in going through the course syllabus is to try to share some of the basic operations of how our course works, and to also continue to talk about my teaching philosophy, because this course might be a little different than other online classes that you've taken. I think that's a good thing. I think, creativity and difference, these are values that we can really embrace. And I hope the way that this course is designed is something that's going to really click with you and allow you to do the study without putting so much fear or anxiety or worry into things like grades. So that's obviously the thing that, this is not your first class here at the college, I'm sure. And everybody always wants to know, well, how is the grade going to be calculated? And we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. But beyond even how the grade is calculated, we have some other things that we need to talk about around the way that the course is going to be structured and some of the ideas and concerns that I want to try to convey to you here at this point in this early part of the term. So this is our venue for the course. This is called Canvas. Canvas is the official name of the platform that is used here at Ivy Tech. We brand it Ivy Learn. So Ivy Learn and Canvas, those are interchangeable terms with each other. Sometimes you'll hear me say Canvas, sometimes you'll hear me say Ivy Learn. They mean the exact same thing. You access the course by going to ivylearn.ivytech.edu, and that's all well and good. But if you actually ever needed tech support for something that's happening in the platform, you'd have to look up Canvas. Or if you go to download the app for your tablet, you're not going to find Ivy Learn in the App Store, but you will find Canvas in the App Store. So that's our internal branding on an external product. So like I said, my name is Professor Anthony Sams. I am from Southern Indiana. I did not grow up in Southern Indiana, but that's where I currently live and work and teach, right outside Louisville, Kentucky. Um, I'm married. I have two kids. I have a golden retriever, and who's very excitable. Otherwise, I'd have her here so you can see what she looks like. Maybe in another video, she can make a cameo at some point. My hobbies include the study of the humanities. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I became a humanities professor, because I love things like philosophy and art history and art appreciation and literature and creative writing. I do some creative writing on my own, fiction and poetry mostly. Other hobbies include cooking. I love film. I'll read anything you put in front of me, from a romance novel to a deep work of complex abstract philosophy. Um, I like to travel. I like to uh, do things with my kids. My kids are really into video games, so I'm trying to get more into video games. They're not necessarily the thing that I'm good at, but probably over the length of this course, I'll be talking about playing Spider-Man 2, which was something that we got for our kids over the holidays. So if you have any experience in any of those topics and want to talk about them on or offline, that is great. I love music too. I listen to a wide variety of music, sort of like film and reading, or any kind of art. I will explore anything. I love recommendations. You all provide actually some of the best recommendations I've ever gotten for finding new things. You'll see that's actually one of the topics that I want to talk about in our first discussion board post. Some of your recommendations for art that has moved you. My email address is here, and my office right now, it's in the Learning Commons of the Sellersburg campus. So if you're local to Sellersburg, I'd love it if you had an opportunity to come by and we could have a cup of coffee. There's free Keurig coffee or tea available in the Learning Commons. I'd love to sit and have a cup of coffee or tea with you, talk about the course, talk about literature, talk about your time as a college student or what you want to do after college. I have an office on campus, but there's a lot of construction going on the Sellersburg campus. So right now I'm in the Learning Commons, which is our library slash tutoring center on the Sellersburg campus. My office hours for Spring 1 are 10 to 12 and 2 to 4 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's Eastern time. I'm in the Eastern time zone. Um, and during my office hours, I'm always happy to hop on Zoom and talk to you. If my office hours don't work for you, though, I'm also available by appointment. Reach out to me and let me know what time does work for you. I can probably make almost any time work, except, when I'm sleeping. But just let me know when might be a good time to talk to you, and I'm happy to talk to you on Zoom. We have, of course, Zoom link, so if we're ever going to meet up on Zoom, you just go to that link and click that link, and that's where we'll end up. Um, I'm not going to talk about my communication plan right now because I'm actually going to record another video that's going to walk you through all of the Canvas site. Where do you go for accessing the assignments? How do you access the book? How do you access grades? How do you access certain kinds of feedback? That's going to be a completely separate video. So we'll go through all of that in another video. If I knew how to do one of those things on YouTube where I could like insert a little link right here where my finger is, put in a box, I'd try to put that video link right there. I might try to experiment with that. So we'll see where that goes. Okay, so World Lit, I'm sorry, yeah, World Lit 2, as I call it, World Literature 2, English 221. This is our course. This is a course outline. These are going to be our learning objectives, the things that I want to accomplish, and the content of the course. I've pretty much talked about all that in my setup for why I like to teach this course and what I hope you're going to get out of this course. You can look at the formal college version of that here, but let's not spend time reading those together. Let's talk about the text. Our text is the Norton Anthology of World Literature, Volume 2, and it's called the Shorter Fourth Edition. Now, there are so many different ways that literature anthologies can be packaged and made available to students in courses. Um, The Norton Anthology of World Literature is, for my money, the best literature anthology on the market. I'm absolutely thrilled that this is the text for our course. This is probably the text that I would have chosen if I had the choice to pick of text to pick for our course. Um, it's the shorter edition, and what that means is the Norton Anthology of World Literature is actually 6 volumes in total. Volumes A, B, and C, and D, E, and F. And the volumes D, E, and F cover the same time period, but in 3 books. And so they have more literary selections, a wider variety of texts. Some of the readings are longer. Some of the poets have more poems that are present. There are readings that are in the D, E, and F edition that aren't in the shorter volume 2. Coin flip, right? Maybe I would have assigned DEF, maybe I would have assigned volume 2. I'm not entirely sure what I would have done, but this is, for my money, the best literature anthology that's on the market for a course like this. So this is our text. The text comes built into the course, and you've paid for the text with your tuition dollars under our Ivy Plus program if you're using the Ivy Plus program. And you can access the text by clicking on the Ivy Plus bookshelf link. We'll talk more about that in the course overview video. But you can also access the text because I've got it built into the course as PDFs on the reading assignments. So we'll talk about how to do the reading engagement assignments in another video too. But this is the text. If you want to get yourself a physical copy of the text, I really recommend that. I know the digital copy comes baked in, but there have been a lot of studies done over the last 10 years or so that have found that reading on paper comes with a higher level of retention than reading on a screen. That's not to say all screens are bad or that you can't gain anything from reading on a screen, but the act of holding a book in your hand and reading pages in front of you is actually something that leads to higher levels of retention, cognitively speaking. If you have the desire to get a book like this, you can usually get a good physical copy online for pretty cheap. If you want to support a local bookstore, you can go to bookshop.org and you can order the anthology on bookshop.org. You can type in the title, or you can use that 13-digit ISBN number up at the top. If you just paste that 13-digit number into bookshop.org or Amazon, it's going to pull up this book. It's like a social security number for a book, right? Each book only has one ISBN. One ISBN only attaches itself to one book. There's not a low-cost print option of this book. That's one of the downsides of literature anthologies, is often it's so complicated with copyrights that there's not really a low-cost print option. So if you need physical readings, a couple of options, right? You can go to bookshop.org and you can buy yourself a copy of the anthology. It's going to be full price through bookshop.org. You could probably get a cheaper version new through Amazon, or you could go to Amazon and buy a used version of the book. I saw used versions of this anthology on Amazon just last week for about $40. Now, I understand $40 is a lot of money to some people. And so I've got a couple other ideas that might be something that you want to explore if you want to get yourself a physical copy to really dig into the book. One thing that you can do is, this is the 4th edition of the book, but almost all of the readings are also in the 3rd edition of the book. So if you got the Norton Anthology of World Literature, Volume 2, shorter 3rd edition, You would have almost all of the same readings. The page numbers aren't going to line up perfectly, and there might be slightly different translations, but you would get almost all of the same readings. The third edition goes used, sell or is sold for used. I saw on Amazon last week about $10. So that's a pretty good option if you want to get yourself a physical copy, but 40 is a little too much, and maybe you could make 10 work. Another option is there are PDFs built into the class, so you can print those. You could go to your local Ivy Tech campus and you could print the readings. If you were really concerned about the number of pages you're printing, you can actually talk to a librarian or some other professor, and they can show you how to put multiple pages on one page. So you might, instead of printing one whole page per page, you can put 2 pages on a page and then do it front and back. So it's going to make the font a little smaller, but if your eyes are good for that, mine maybe used to be, but are no longer good for that. You can go ahead and do that too. You could borrow one from a local library as well, or you could go to your Ivy Tech campus, go to the library, and ask them if they could help connect you to another library that might have this, so that you could check it out. Almost all of our readings come from this book. There are a few readings that I have added to the course, and they're available as PDFs in the course. And so if you look at the file version of our syllabus, you scroll up to the top and click on where it says course syllabus and reading schedule. You can see which ones are in the book. Those are the ones with page numbers, and which ones I've scanned and added to the class. Those are the ones that say PDF uploaded to course. Okay, so that gives you a sense of where things are. All right, let's talk a little bit about the instructional method of our course. This is an asynchronous online distance learning course. What that means is you do not have to come to campus to accomplish the work. Everything is located within the module section of our course. You can do the course at 4 o'clock in the morning while I'm sleeping. We can go all semester without ever seeing each other on Zoom, and you can completely do it that way if you want. Obviously, I'd love to get to know you. So that's an option, but maybe there's a way in which we can get to know each other just beyond text. Um, so if you have an opportunity to join me on Zoom, or if you have an opportunity to talk to me at some point in person, I would really love that. But this is asynchronous, so we don't have to meet up at the same time as a requirement, and you can do it all from home or wherever you are in the world, if that's what you want to do. If you've ever taken an online course, you know that it takes a good deal of discipline and self-motivation and time management to successfully complete an online course. I really strongly encourage setting aside time each week to work on this course. Think of it as if you've scheduled 3 to 6 hours, or sometimes 3 to 12 hours a week. Build in time. On Mondays from 1 to 4, I'm going to work on my world literature class. I really think that's the best way to get these things done. Don't try to just squeeze it in into your free moments. That can lead to heartache and headache. So really try to give yourself structured time to work on a course like this. In the syllabus, I recommend 3 benchmarks each week: Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So I try to break up the work, try to have this done by Tuesday, try to have this done by Thursday, try to have this done by Sunday. The course functions as a week-long work per module. So everything needs to be completed by the end of the day on Sunday. Ideally, you'd find those benchmarks in the middle that work for you. It might not be Tuesday and Thursday. It might be Wednesday and Friday. It might be Thursday and Saturday. It might be Monday and Tuesday. I mean, depending on what your work schedule looks like, or your other class schedule, or your life schedule, it could be you're going to do a little bit Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, take Saturday off, and then have everything all done by Sunday. You got to figure out what works well for you. I can't tell you what works well for you. Only you know that. I'm just recommending something like Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, because I think that twice a week thing really helps build rhythm, and that makes it easier to stay on top of your work if you're in a groove, so to speak. We're going to have 3 live virtual sessions on Zoom during the first week of the course. You can see the dates are there. I will also send out a survey to try to get a sense of when I might be a good time to schedule live virtual sessions every week, weeks 2 through 8. And if we have a general time that works well for everybody, I will make myself available. If it's during my office hours, great. If it's not during my office hours, that's okay too. I'll try to make myself available during those times if you want to hop on Zoom and talk about these works with me. Ivy Tech performs administrative drops if you don't attend class, and in an online class, that means you got to submit an assignment. So you have to submit something by Tuesday, January 23rd at the end of the day. That's basically gives you the whole first week to get everything done. Uh, you have the first week to decide if you want to be in the class. You can drop the class in the first week and you get all your money back. It's like it never happened. If you're still in the class after the first week, I really think you should try to stick it out, right? Not passing the class can hurt your GPA, it can hurt your financial aid eligibility, it can hurt your ability to complete on time. And so I don't want that to happen to you. I'm the biggest cheerleader for your success. I want you to succeed in this course. If I want you to stick around because I think the course is awesome. If you ever have troubles, reach out to me. I can help with almost everything that you're experiencing, or at least I can help you get connected to other people who can help you with the things that you're experiencing. If though you decide you don't want to continue, please don't just stop participating, right? That can actually have really bad effects for your completion and financial aid eligibility and those sorts of things too. So if you decide at the midpoint that you want out, you got to talk to an academic advisor at the college so that you can formally withdraw from the class. If you just stop attending, I'm not going to knock you out of the class. I'm not going to kick you out or something like that, right? So this non-attendance drop and the withdrawal, sometimes students get those confused. So just keep it simple. In the first week, no harm, get out, no problem. Or if you look through and you decide you don't want to do it, I'll drop you from the class after the first week. But after the first week, it's all on you to make that call. I can talk to you about what the best strategy is, but that's ultimately up to you, and you should also talk to your academic advisor. I encourage you to review all of the standard college policies. You can click on this link. It'll take you to a Google Doc. It's got all the standard stuff, Title IX, disability support services, accommodations, attendance requirements, copyright restrictions, library stuff. So click on that link and you can follow through. All right, let's talk about the things that you undoubtedly have the most curiosity about, which is how is your grade going to be calculated? This is where the course might be a little different than what you're used to. So let's really take some time and focus on this together. To the greatest extent possible, this course has been designed to be a zone that is free of busy work. I believe the goal of any literature course should be to read great works of human imagination, to reflect on the humanistic ideas within those works, to understand the unique combination of forces that shaped the authors and their audiences, to appreciate how those works function as art, to engage in thoughtful discussion about the insights in the works and what those insights can mean for our own lives. We must put our experience of the texts front and center. As such, the assignments in this course reflect that by prioritizing your personal engagement with the text. Now, let me pause here and just say a little bit more about what I mean by personal engagement, right? For the most part, there are some quizzes that are built into the course that are required to be administered, but for the most part, I am interested in insights that only you could ever give me. right? There will never be an assignment given in this course, a writing assignment given in this course that asks you all to answer the exact same question. Like, um, you know, what is the meaning of the symbolism of the Madeleine in Proust's, In Search of Lost Time, right? I'm never going to ask that question of you as a paper assignment or as a writing assignment, right? Because when you ask a question like that, you tend to get a lot of papers that are all pretty much the same thing. They're all saying pretty much the same thing. We could scramble up all the names on top, and it could be randomly determined who wrote what because it's one question. It's got pretty much a straightforward answer, and I'm asking all of you to find that answer, right? Those kinds of questions do not interest me, right? Proust, when he eats the Madeleine in In Search of Lost Time, what it does is it transports him through a sensory experience to something from the past. So what I'm interested in is, what do you get out of that? What does that mean to you? Is that a common experience? Have you ever had an experience like that? Have you ever smelled the perfume or cologne of somebody and been transported into the past? How does that affect your experience of time? How does that affect your experience of understanding yourself, right? Proust didn't write that as a sense for us to think about, um, oh, what's Proust up to here? Oh, he's up to that. Okay, let's move on. He wrote that, eating a Madeleine cookie transports him back in time, and he wrote that so that we could think about what in our lives does that to us. And what kind of insights can he help give us about what it means for that to happen in our lives? So I'm more interested above all else in your personal experiences and your personal interactions with the text that we're reading in this class, not in telling me what was the name of the villain in the story, or not telling me what happened when the character went into the coffee shop, right? That kind of stuff, that's more like basic reading comprehension. But I want to think more about like appreciation of the literature. When you read a passage and the beauty of the language just like kicks open the door of your mind and takes your breath away, I want to talk about that moment with you. I want you to talk about that moment with us. What was it about that moment that affected you so deeply? How did it affect you that deeply? How did the language work that moved you in that direction? That's really what I'm interested in and thinking about. What does that text mean to you? How is that text speaking to the human experience? And that's a very unique question that I think only you can answer. And those are the kinds of questions and discussions I'm interested in having. So your progress in this course and the feedback on your academic labor are going to be maintained in the grade book, which is the grades link on the left side. You can generally expect to receive feedback within about 7 days of the due date, potentially longer if it gets submitted after the due date. So if you submit something late, it might take a little longer than 7 days because things that are submitted on time are going to get priority. The final grade that gets submitted to the college is going to be calculated from the work that you do in 4 major areas. So let's talk about those 4 major areas. The first one is discussions. We're going to have a weekly discussion where we're going to talk about the text that we read. Again, not straightforward answers, talk about what is the meaning of this image, right? But we're going to interact with each other. We're going to do our best to recreate that classroom experience of talking about texts and providing insight. So there's going to be one discussion each week. The discussions are going to be most of the writing that you're going to do in this class, actually, are going to be on the discussion boards. So they're not just going to be, show up, put a post, come back, put two more posts, and then move on with your life. I'm really trying to do something here, and I'm going to try to be a very active participant on the discussion board with you, asking you questions, following up, answering your questions that you might have if you don't understand things. That's going to be what the discussions area is used for. We're going to have some quizzes too. The book contains some nice historical backgrounds on the eras that we're studying. So they like the Enlightenment and the Romantic period and the colonial periods or sorry, colonization periods but the post-war and postmodern periods. So the quizzes are going to be based on the history that's going on during the time in which these texts are being written. The largest portion of your grade is going to be the reading engagements portion. Now, there's a whole other video about reading engagements that I'm going to have you turn to. But in short, the reading engagements are going to ask you to read the texts and interact with the texts as you go. Mark up, annotate, respond to, reflect, personal reactions, personal connections, moments where the language is so beautiful or so funny, or moments where you get angry at the text, or moments where you felt so sad at something that was happening in the text. As I said, we'll talk more about the reading engagements in a separate video, but the reading engagements are such a big portion of the course because I want to prioritize your interaction with the text. I don't want you distracted by little short papers or longer papers that you have to be writing to turn things in. I want so much of this course to just be you in this book and then thinking about this book on the discussions with me and the rest of your classmates. So we'll talk more about reading engagements in a separate video. There is one paper that you're required to write for the course. It's a final paper. It's due at the end of the course. It's a reflection sort of paper that looks back over everything that we've talked about and read. The prompt for the paper is available if you want to go take a look at it. The paper's weighted at 30%. So it's a significant portion of the final grade, but it really should not be too challenging of a paper. So you can take a look at it if you want, but I wouldn't worry about that. The scale for the final grade is here. It's pretty typical, and you can see what it is. I don't do extra credit. I'm philosophically, professionally opposed to extra credit. We can talk about why one day if you want to, but we won't go into that here. I do round up grades though. So if your final grade's an 89.1, I will submit that as an A. We'll round that up to a 90. Or a 79.1, we'll round that up to a B. So I round up really quite easily. All right, let's talk about due dates. Every time I teach an online course, I use this policy, but every time I teach it, people just aren't used to it, or they think I'm not being truthful, or I don't know what they think, but they're always like shocked when they, ask me through email and I tell them, yeah, that's in the syllabus. So let's talk about due dates. Pretty important here. Due dates are included on the schedule. Coursework is scheduled to be submitted at the end of each week. It can get marked late if it comes in late. You should try to stay on track. Try not to fall behind. I think that's kind of important. It's a fast course, right? It's a compressed course. You stay on track. Don't fall behind. Here's the thing, though. The only due date that absolutely matters, the only due date in this course that is non-negotiable is the last day of class. You can get an extension on any assignment you want. You can absolutely ask for the extension as much as possible. So, didn't get it all done? Hey, shoot me an email. Let me know it's going to be late. Not a problem. No late penalties, by the way. Just shoot me an email and let me know. And I will let you know, hey, sure, not a problem. But next week is actually our heaviest reading week of the entire semester. So I wouldn't wait till the end of the week. Try to get it done a little earlier in the week because I think that'll work better for you, right? Every due date is wide open. I try to keep that kind of philosophy front and center in the course, right? Makeup work works the same way. You submit an assignment and you don't get the score that you want on it, you can do it again. You submit a quiz and you don't get the 100% on the quiz, take the quiz again. You submit a discussion board and it gets marked it's in progress. It's not quite where it needs to be. You really didn't do that much. Go back and add more, right? You submit a reading engagement assignment and you didn't do it all, or it's really too light, or you need to, I'll let you know. Go back, do it again, add more to it. You know, the grade that you get in this course should be based on your growth and the work that you do. Should not be based on a high wire act where you only get one shot to do something and then the door closes and you never get a chance to do it again, right? That's not my teaching style. My teaching style is you're only going to get better through feedback and growth and practice. So I'm not going to let something that happens in the first few weeks of the course weigh you down for the rest of the term. Only the last day of class is the non-negotiable due date. Almost everything except the things that are due at the end of the class, right? But everything submitted weeks 1 through 7, you have an opportunity to fix it if you have a problem. Okay? So I mean that. I'm serious. I'm not just saying that. I really mean it. So take that into consideration, right? Anything that's left undone by the end of the term, it'll be given a 0 because there's no chance to do it over, right? But after feedback's been provided or whatever, you can always resubmit an assignment to improve the score. Okay. Let's talk about plagiarism and academic integrity. So I value it. Obviously, as a college professor, I value it. I don't think academic integrity is something you do, so you don't get punished or you don't get a 0 or something like that. It's not arbitrary. In my personal experience, I think most cases of academic misconduct and plagiarism happen when the person feels desperate, right? They feel like there's not enough time. They feel like the assignment is too complicated. They feel like, I don't know how I'm going to get this done. So they turn to cheating or misconduct as a way to try to make it go. And the thinking is, I have heard from students over the years that like the odds of not getting caught, I'd play those odds, right? Because if I don't get caught, then I get the credit, and if I don't do it, I get a 0. So like people are gonna gamble like that. I'm not a gambler. I don't like to go to casinos. I don't like to bet on things. But I wouldn't bet against an English professor for when it comes to academic integrity and plagiarism. Okay, so here's the thing. This course has been designed to minimize moments of desperation, right? Your experience with the literature is the central piece of the course. Your thoughts, your reactions, your interpretations, your mind at work. There are very few, if any, I mean, with quizzes accepted, right? But there are very few correct answers in this course, right? Extensions on assignments are always possible. All you gotta do is ask. Assignments can be resubmitted based on my feedback. So if you turn something in and the score is not what you wanted, do it again with my feedback, right? It's designed to minimize desperation. Because of all that, I think if you outsource any step of the writing process or the thinking process of this course, you're really robbing yourself of the full experience, right? That includes looking up things online or, you know, Cliff's Notes or Spark Notes, or LitHub or, any other places that you could go to find sort of ways to get around that work. That includes generative artificial intelligence like ChatGPT or Bard or other things like that, right? Like it just kind of robs you of your experience, right? And like why are you here? You should be here to learn, and this course is designed to focus on your learning, not make you feel stressed out about grades, right? So, um, you're members of the academic community, and the expectation of an academic community is that the work you produce is your own, and that you clearly cite sources that help you along the way. And so we want to focus on citing things that help us. if you find information from a source. I don't use Turnitin. I'm opposed to the program for a variety of reasons. So we're not using Turnitin in this class. But I've got a really good eye for voice and language. And please be aware that if I have any concerns over the academic integrity of something you submit in the course, I will not give you a grade on that work until we meet together or until we talk about the concern together and we're able to work through it. So keep drafts, keep notes, keep all of those sorts of things so that we have an opportunity to talk if I have any kind of concern. Let's talk about basic needs security, right? A humanities course like ours is deeply grounded in exploring what it means to be human and how we make sense of our world and thought and culture and art. We can't do this if we don't recognize each other's humanities or if your physiological or your safety needs are not being fulfilled. So if you have challenges with securing food or housing or mental health care, or you're caught in a situation that involves some sort of domestic problems, and that is affecting your ability to complete this course, you can go to Ivy Cares for support. Ivy Cares is a statewide program designed to help connect students with resources. You can also let me know privately if you need help with this. You can also search for community resources by your zip code using the Ivy Assist tool. It'll let you know like who in the community where you live can help. So if you live an hour away from an Ivy Tech campus, you might need somebody a little closer to home to help you. So Ivy Assist and Ivy Cares are there to really help with basic needs. With my diversity statement in the syllabus, I want you to know that what I aim for you to do is to help you become a better thinker, a better communicator, someone who's more imaginative and appreciating the complexities of the world. Language and its use are powerful. They hold the potential to empower individuals and to empower communities. The work that we do in this class is a way to engage and have meaningful conversations across our differences, including with those with whom we disagree. We offer methods for exploring and understanding and problem solving, responding to the collective issues that we face in the world, right? These are skills that align with and support our mission to put diversity, equity, and belonging into practice for graduating culturally literate individuals who will make positive contributions to local communities. My name's Anthony, and my pronouns are he, him. If you have a name that you would like to go by that's not what is listed in the college's system, or if you have information about yourself that you would like me to know at the start of the class so that I can, respect you as fully as a human, please let me know. And I will be more than happy to make corrections to the notes, or I can even help you change what your display name is in Ivy Learn if that's something that you would like. Look, you can't understand the present if you can't understand the past. The past is what brought us to this moment. And it is only from this moment that we can go into the future. And so the work of a literature course like this is to help us make sense of the past or to appreciate how people of the past tried to make sense of their moment. So that's part of what we're doing in this course, and that's going to play a big role. So we got literature playing a role and art appreciation playing a role, but there's also a lot of history in this course and thinking about how all of these things work together to create the present moment. You can check out my communication plan if you have any questions or concerns about how to get in touch with me. There are lots of ways to do that. I respond to messages usually in about 36 hours. If you haven't heard from me in 36 hours, you can send the message again and I'll try to get back to you ASAP. I send weekly announcements and sometimes I'll send course-wide communications if there are any concerns that need to come out across the whole course. You can set up notifications on your phone if you want. You can also turn off notifications if you don't want things on your phone. I don't have the Canvas app on my phone, so I try to just keep it all on my computer as much as possible. The end of the syllabus here includes support for things like Ivy Line and online learning and disabilities support contact. My supervisor is also listed in the syllabus if you have any questions or concerns. I hope you bring them to me first and give me a chance to try to fix them. 99.9% of all questions and concerns can be resolved at the student teacher level. But if you need to contact my supervisor, his name's Joe Betts, and he's in his contact information's there. It's not a typo. His email really is rbetts. Um, Joe's his nickname. So that information is all there. The bottom of the syllabus gives you a look at all of the reading assignments and the work that we're doing on a weekly basis. So you can check that out. And we'll talk a little bit more about how the course is structured in the course overview video. And we'll talk more about the reading engagements in the reading engagements video as well. Thanks for sticking with me in this video if you watched from start to finish. Again, you can always pause these videos or you can speed them up to 2 times their speed. I try to record these things and post them to YouTube so that they're more accessible on more devices. Not that you would want to project me on your TV at home or something, but you could watch it on the phone or on a tablet or something like that. Watch it on your computer if you want to do something like that. These videos are made to help you and support you, to show you that there is a human on the other side of this screen and that he cares about your success and wants you to enjoy this course as much as possible. If you have questions, go ahead and reach out. That's what I'm here for. I'm really looking forward to teaching this class and having you in it. And I hope we have an opportunity to get to know each other in week 1. We'll have those live sessions, don't forget. And we'll also have some ongoing live opportunities through the term, plus all the work that we'll be doing inside the class. Thanks for watching, and make sure you check out the other week 1 videos. And everybody have a good day. See you in the course.